Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Hey, today I got an interesting topic for you. I want to talk about qualifying an opportunity, but I want to go a little deeper. I want you to think about, here's the question, what does it cost you to not qualify an opportunity? What does it cost you to not qualify an opportunity? So let me do this. Let's talk about why qualify and then how to qualify. But more specifically, how do you qualify somebody? What's the process? So here's the idea. You spend a lot of time dealing with customers. So let's create a scenario. Let's say that you're a pool company and you talk to customers who are thinking about putting in a pool. So what happens? You have to go through some type of process to qualify them before you go out and actually do the work. So let's say that you get an inbound call. Somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about putting in a pool. What are the next steps? The question is, how much time do you typically spend qualifying somebody? Now let's walk through the process. If you're dealing with the lead, there are many things you'll probably have to do to close the deal. Here's a short list I came up with, and then you think of your own list. So you have the initial conversation, and then you'll eventually have to schedule an appointment. Then, after scheduling the appointment, you'll have to drive to the location and drive back. You'll do an on-site walkthrough, and then after that, you're going to develop a proposal. Then you're probably going to have to drive back to the location and again, lay out the proposal, do an on-site proposal review, process the contract if the deal is closed, maybe send some emails, solicit some additional information, and finally maybe get the contract signed. Now, this is the list, again, my list of all the things you might have to do without any guarantee that you will get the sale. Let me say that again. This is a list of things you'll have to do without any guarantee that you'll get the sale. Now, I'm sure you can add or subtract to this list, but you get the idea. So here's the important question. How much time would you attribute to each of these activities I just mentioned? In other words, how much time are you spending on a lead? Now, here are my estimates, and let's walk through the numbers, and then let's talk about it. So let me go through the process again. The initial conversation, a lead calls in, the initial conversation, and you schedule an appointment. Let's say that conversation, the initial conversation, you're going to qualify, you're going to ask questions. Let's say that takes about 45 minutes to have the conversation and maybe even schedule an appointment, 45 minutes. Then you have to drive to and from the location the first time. So let's say that takes you 30 minutes to get there and then 30 minutes to go back to your office. Now, while you're there, you're going to have to do an on-site walkthrough. And let's say that on-site walkthrough takes 30 minutes. Then you'll probably have to develop some type of proposal. Let's just give that 10 minutes. And again, you can use your own numbers. Then you're going to have to drive to and from the location with the new proposal. In other words, you're going to have a second meeting. You're going to probably review the contract. Again, go through the designs. Again, maybe go back and forth on sending emails, as we talked about. You're going to solicit some additional information, so you'll probably have to send some emails. And all this before even a contract is signed. Now, using my numbers, the initial conversation and scheduling an appointment took 45 minutes. Driving to and from the location took 60 minutes. An on-site walkthrough took 30 minutes. Developing a proposal took 10 minutes, and I'm being conservative there. Driving again to and from the location was another 60 minutes. An on-site proposal review was probably 60 minutes to walk through a proposal. Maybe you had another 10 minutes to process the contract. Maybe you had to go back and forth sending emails, so you had to take time to do that. That's another 10 minutes. Solicit additional information, another 15 minutes. If I were to add up all that time without closing the deal, without contracts being signed, I've used up 300 minutes, which is the equivalent of 5 hours with no deal guaranteed. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Go through your process. What is your process when you are first making contact with the customer and then trying to get them to the point where you can almost close the deal? How much time are you spending? In this case, I calculated 300 minutes or 5 hours for that process. That means that each lead could potentially chew up 5 hours of my time. Now, again, there's no guarantee of sale, right? So spending 5 hours on a lead that in the end doesn't buy is why you need to qualify as soon as possible. See, ideally, you want to qualify them over the phone at the initial conversation. And then maybe during the first on-site visit, you want to qualify them as well. So here's what I want you to do. List the steps in your process from the initial call, from the lead, to submitting or handing them a final proposal or trying to get an agreement. How many steps and how much time are you investing to do that? Knowing that number will help you understand why it's important for you to qualify early. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. It's a short one, but I want you to think about how do you qualify your clients and how much time are you spending and how much time are you investing? And then the big question is, how can you qualify early so you're not spending time on leads that are not going to close? And that is it for the Sales Influence podcast. Again, don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'd greatly appreciate it. By the way, I'll put a description of this whole process in the description when you're watching the video. By the way, also check out my online sales training platform, the Sales Velocity Academy. It continues to grow. If you want to sell more faster, check it out. SalesVelocityAcademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.